Can we begin with injuries, please? You didn't have Kieran Trippier at Liverpool. What are the chances of him being in the squad tomorrow?
With Kieran, we're going to give him a late test today and see how he is for tomorrow.
And Callum Wilson was also missing at Anfield, and you said it would probably be a couple of games for him. Just how bad is the latest injury that he's picked up?
Yeah, it's not too bad, but it'll be enough to keep him out of this game and our next game. But hopefully we'll have him back for Aston Villa.
It's a huge weekend and a massive occasion. How ready are you all?
Yeah, I think it's been a good week for us. I think since the Liverpool game, lads have trained well. I think the feel of the group's been good, so I'm expecting a good performance from us. We know the importance of the fixture. We know what it means to everybody, this game, so we're ready, and hopefully we can give the best account of ourselves.
You've got quite a few Geordies in your squad and in the staff, and there's a couple of players who didn't grow up in the North East but are Newcastle fans. What sort of role have they had this week and since the draw in the preparations?
Yeah, when the draw was made, we made reference to the draw, and we had I gave a couple of the Geordies an opportunity to speak about the fixture. This was some way back, just to set the scene. Since then, I think behind the scenes they've been playing a role, not necessarily been used by me to do any more that we need to do, really. I think the players know everything they need to know about the fixture. They know, as I said, what it means to everybody. And sometimes you can overkill that. So I think it's then been a case of, right, how are we going to play? What are we going to do? How are we going to execute our plan? And it's been very formulated that way, really.
Could it be the perfect match for you to get a big result and then really start turning things around in that sense?
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, that's of course how we have to look at it. Our next game is the next opportunity to turn our form around. We're absolutely keen to do that. So yes, I think we're focusing very much on our performance and trying to deliver the best we can.
The FA Cup hasn't been, I suppose, great to you since you came to Newcastle. But how important is the competition to you this season? Because you are out of the League Cup and you're out of Europe, and it's an opportunity to get to Wembley and to get back into Europe for next season.
Yeah, well aware of my record here. It's not been good. The two games we've had have been really disappointing, so can't shy away from that. Have to hit that head on and try and make up for it in this game. It's our opportunity to progress in a cup competition. We want to do well in. We want the extra games, as I said previously, in the other competitions. So every part of us wants to progress and do well.
I just want to ask you lastly about Sunderland, who are going well in the Championship. Where do you think the main threats will be in their team and with the way that they play?
I think they're a very good team, full of young, bright prospects. I think obvious threat is in the wide areas, depending on who's fit, but Roberts has done really well. Clark's an obvious threat. They've got good players in midfield as well, so we don't underestimate the challenge. We don't underestimate them in any way, giving them full respect in our preparation. The players will be well briefed on what they can do. But of course, really it's going to be about what we can do and how well we can play and how well we can execute our plans and how well our players can perform. And we need to get everybody back to their best levels as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Rosa. Keith?
Eddie, you said to Razor there that you gave the Geordies within the squad an opportunity to speak when the draw was made. What did they say to you and the rest of the players about the derby? Can you tell us?
No, I can't. It was good. I think it was, as I said, when the draw was made, I think it was important we made reference to it and then put it away for the games we had to come. But I think with most of these things, it's better it stays internal.
Almost 8 years since the last one. I think Paul Dummett and Jamal themselves both played that day. Incredible that they're still here, because you don't see that much these days in football, do you?
No, you don't. I think the longevity of both players at this football club is great to see. Slightly different journeys to get to this point. Of course, Paul's a Newcastle through and through and been at the club many years. His attitude and commitment every day sort of shines for Newcastle and his love for the club. Jamal, slightly different journey, of course, but again, the loyalty that he's shown to the football club in difficult moments. It's great that both players are still here, and it's really useful to have players that experienced these games before. That could be pivotal for us.
Is that one of the reasons? I don't mean particularly for this game, but for moments like this, that you've got a core through your team of guys from the area. even like so Jacob Murphy, who isn't from the area but he's a Newcastle United fan. You brought Dan Burn back here. Is that one of the reasons players and people within the club who understand it and understand the fabric?
Yeah, I think you need that within your team, ideally. I mean, not to say you have to have it, but I think I always would, by preference, have a sprinkling of players that have come through the youth system, have a great understanding of the football club, can educate people on new players coming in, on expectations of the football club, how things have been done through time. And I think that's a really useful thing for us to have in this situation. We do have some great characters that have been here a long time, and they can really help in difficult moments, good moments. They really are the core of the club, and we're delighted to have them.
In terms of your understanding of the derby, it's an unusual situation for you because you've been here for more than 2 years now and haven't been involved in one. Has it grown over time, or were you aware straight away? When were you made aware of the size of the rivalry?
Pretty early, I'd say, within the first day. But of course, it being in different leagues, it's not relevant. It's not immediately brought to your attention. But I think everyone knows. I knew before coming here there was a very, very intense rivalry between the two clubs. I think we'll get a better taste of that tomorrow. But I think from our perspective, we're trying to prepare the game properly. Trying to get the players in their best levels. For us, it's important we get back to winning ways.
My postman will be relieved because he knocked on the door this morning with a letter rather than putting it through the door and said, can you make sure that Eddie Howe and the new players know about the size of the derby if they don't already? So he'll be relieved that you knew about it early doors. Yeah,
but I think you can't escape it here. I think the players, even new players coming in, especially in the build-up to the game and everything that entails, will know what this is going to mean to our supporters.
Just finally from me, Eddie, a bit of a hot topic this morning on the back page of most of the newspapers. Everyone talking about a national level. Newcastle branding has been put up in the Sunderland hospitality area ahead of the game, and obviously has led to some embarrassment from the Sunderland side of things. How do you view it? Do you feel like Newcastle have maybe, or the fans even, have got a little bit of a head start, maybe gone one up before the game kicks off?
No, I don't feel that. I think these things can happen. I think it's up to Sunderland what they do with their stadium, nothing to do with us.
Thank you. Mark Shooter?
Eddie, the way the season has gone, I mean, derbies are always massive games, but is this even more significant is what Matthew sort of said in terms of Kickstart of the season?
Yeah, I think we don't underestimate the game, take away the fact it's the game that it is for our season. It's the next opportunity for us to return to our best form, and I think that's how we have to look at it. We are determined to do that. There's a real resolve. I can see that with the players. I can see they're hurting at the moment, and I think there's a real determination to put it right. So in all aspects of our game, we're going to have to be at our very best. Our away form has been a concern, so it's another opportunity for us to improve that. So I think there's a lot for us to gain from the game.
I mean, the injury problems are well known, but is there a point where a side that's running on empty, it suddenly becomes more of a psychological and a physical problem?
Yeah, well, we haven't used that running on empty as that's sort of come from externally. Internally, I've never expressed that to the players. How can I? You know, I'm asking them to play and play at their best level. So we have to block out all distractions, and we have to just individually be at our best levels. That's been the message.
And at the Stadium of Light, another of the thorny issues, I suppose, the size of the crowd and where the crowd's going to be, where the away fans are going to be in the stadium. But that massive following, how much of an advantage is that in a derby game, do you think?
Again, I don't think it's specific to a derby game. I think it's in any game you want your away support to be there in numbers. They have been. They've been incredible for us on the road this year. You want to be able to hear them in the game. I've got no doubt we will. And then we want to repay that support with our best performance, and a performance our supporters can be proud of. That's going to be our aim off the back of what they've given us this year.
After last season and tremendous achievements, I mean, it's a different type of pressure on the players now, isn't it?
I think we were well aware going into the season that this season was going to be very different in every level, in every way, whether that's the number of games, whether that's the expectation, the competitions we're involved in. There was going to be no repeat of last year in a sense that last year was unique. We were able to play week to week. We had a settled team in the main. We were able to build momentum, and we carried that through. This year's been a big challenge, but we knew it was going to be.
And just a final question, obviously, the month of January will go quite quickly, and are you trying to sort of see the bigger picture rather than those sort of short-term fixes for players who are not available to you for injury?
Yes, we are. I think that's a good way of putting it. We will assess the month as it goes on. Of course, short term, there will be a need to bring players in with the dynamic of the squad currently. But we hope we can get players back towards the end of January that will make a difference.
Thanks, Mark. Chris, at the back.
Hi, Eddie. Hello.
Bye.
After Liverpool, you talked about the fact that you've not been able to train as often as you were last season. Have you had a bit more time on the training ground this week? And if so, do you sense that's made a bit of a difference?
I hope so. I mean, yeah, we've had a tiny bit more time on the training ground. I think our first free week is coming up after the Sunderland game in the build-up to the Manchester City match. So that will be probably our first week's training in a long, long time. But we've been able to get on the grass, which has been a rare thing for us in a while, and hopefully that can make a difference to our performance. Hopefully that will be reflected in what we deliver.
You talked about obviously a different kind of pressure this season, but this game brings with it its own kind of unique pressure. How much do you and the players feel that in the build-up?
Personally speaking, no. I'm sort of take myself away and prepare the match like it's any other, but you sort of know that this game is like no any other. It's not going to be underestimated in any way from my perspective, but we've still been, you can only coach the team in the way that you see fit. And of course you have to get that balance right for the players in terms of building the game up, but also controlling emotion and making sure that we're playing the game and not the occasion. So we have to get all those things right in our preparation and make sure the players enter the pitch in the best possible condition to play.
I just wonder as well, before the League Cup final, you kind of had shut down talk about it, but then you admitted yourself you couldn't get away from it. Everyone was talking about going to Wembley. Has it been a little bit of the same leading up to this game? Or have you learned from that experience?
I think the difference is in this game, just before it, we've had Liverpool, we've had huge games. So I think this has sort of always been there in the background, this game, but it's only really been in the last few days that it's come into our view, into our focus, into how we've prepared. So I think the players will be okay. I'm sure they'll be fine, and we'll be able to concentrate solely on this match when it comes round.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, broadcasters. We'll get through as many as we can. We'll start with Damien, Lee, and then Craig.
Eddie, just going back to something Kate asked earlier, you as a professional, you prepare for the derby, you've observed it from outside, you've felt the atmosphere from inside, but your family's living in the city now. Have you got a different perspective from your boys? Are they sort of bathed in it on the top as well?
Yes, they are. I mean, they're fully immersed in it, and I don't know if the rivalries sort of caught them. I think they're sort of in their schoolwork and coming back with lots of sort of tales of Newcastle, but not so much on the derby. I think that will be something that will probably develop as they get a little bit older. But certainly they're still critiquing my decisions and giving me a lot of let me choose my words carefully, constructive criticism at the moment.
And finally, just last night there was another VAR controversy with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Are you happy that there won't be any VAR at the stadium like tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it's very contentious at the moment. Certainly we were on the end, I felt, of three difficult calls against Liverpool. And it certainly, and looking at last night's incident as well, it doesn't seem to be working as it should. So that's something I think for the authorities to focus on.
Lee Ryder.
Going back to PSG from the start of the season, obviously first 10 minutes of that game you really set the tone when Jed Gordon and Dan Burn diving in for tackles and celebrating and getting the crowd up. If you could bottle that up and apply that to that game, I suppose that's the level of intensity you're looking for.
Yeah, I think on that night we probably got the sweet spot. We probably got the mentality and our energy levels, our emotions were where they needed to be for us to execute the perfect performance. Any more than that, you probably go into dangerous territory. If you go under that, then you go into dangerous territory the other way. So you've got to try and individually know what serves you and create that within yourself and get yourself in the right place. And certainly we can play a part in that. But I think it's a game where the emotion of the crowds, both sides, will play a big part in the game, and we hope that we can use our supporters for the good.
I was going to say the physicality side of it, you just can't go over that kind of edge. You've got to let Sunderland know you're there, but we've seen some red cards in this fixture before, so I guess it's about getting that exactly.
Yeah, it is, and it's about using our experience. I think when you look at the squad now, we've played in the Champions League this season, we've played in huge games. You'd like to think that our experience will help us in the match, but that's no guarantee for what's to come. So we have to be smart, and we have to try and navigate potential pitfalls.
Just finally, there's some talk in Brazil and France this morning about Bruno being linked with PSG. I know you can't go into it too much, but I guess when it gets to the end of the window, if you've still got him on board, that'll be exactly what you're looking for.
I think when you're talking about your best players, you want to keep them at the football club for as long as possible. So that's certainly our aim.
Craig, Ian, and then Dominic.
Morning.
Morning.
At this stage of previous cup competitions, you've ordinarily sort of made changes to your team. Is that different this time? It is still Newcastle against lower league opposition, but will you be almost picking a team this time as if it was the FA Cup final?
I think we try and pick a team based on every game to win it, and that's been no different in the previous rounds. I think against Cambridge, we played a very strong team, but we, for whatever reason that day, we just didn't. We couldn't score. But we'd be picking a team to win the game. That's for sure.
There's a theory that the whole signage issue may have actually stoked Sunderland's fans and will make the atmosphere even more intense come Saturday lunchtime. What are you expecting inside the stadium tonight? Because it can be quite it's a real intense, at times even vicious crowd atmosphere for a derby game. Now, what are you expecting?
I think, regardless of what you're expecting, I think you still have to play the match. Excuse me. You still have to play the game in front of you. So we've just got to blank out any distractions and play the game and use our support, which will be, I'm sure, incredible to propel us to hopefully a really good performance.
Thanks, Craig. Ian, and then Dominic Scale.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Your last visit to Stadium United to Bournemouth, I think you relegated Sunderland that day. What do you recall of that afternoon?
Tough game, actually. Yeah, I remember it was a good win for us. But yeah, a really good arena to play football. In the sense the pitch was good. I thought we played well on the day, and yeah, we got an important win for us at that time. But yeah, it's a totally different game, this one, and this game will be unique.
Does it teach, if the Sunderland crowd get winning momentum, it intensifies the atmosphere, but the counter argument, if things are going against it, that could work in your favour from the crowd point of view as well?
Yeah, I think whenever you play away, I think there's certain things that you need to do well in the game, and we probably haven't done them well enough in recent weeks when we've gone on the road. So loads of things I could reel off, which I won't, but certainly we know what we need to do, and then executing it is the hardest thing.
Okay. Dominic, Luke, and then Mark.
Just given each club's respective priorities and standing in the pyramid, do you feel this fixture almost has more on the line for your side than it does Sunderland?
I can't speak for them. I can only speak for us, and we know the importance of this game for us and our season. So I can't downplay it as much as I'd like to. I can't downplay it from where we stand today, especially after recent results. So we're going for everything we can to be at our best.
And how are the nerves going into this fixture opposed to maybe other fixtures?
How are the what, sorry?
The nerves.
The nerves. It's no different to any other game. I'm in a sense of how you feel. In terms of, well, I can only speak for myself. The players will all feel slightly different, I'm sure. But for me, you sort of have a mixture of emotions when you go into a game. You have, of course, there's a bit of nerves in there, but there's mainly excitement about what we can deliver. And I want to see my team express themselves and play in the way that I know they can.
Luke, Mark, and Chris.
You've experienced most things as Newcastle United manager over the last 2 years. This feels like the last kind of great act, as it were, experiencing an
I hope not. Cheers, Luke.
The last great experience you could have.
That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll be fine.
What was your question? No, you haven't thrown me, but what are you saying?
Well, I'm saying this is like this is the last thing, the great experience you can have as a Newcastle United manager managing the North East derby. Is that fair to say?
Well, I don't think managing it is the thing you're looking for. You're looking to win. Then it becomes a different thing totally. So we're not really here for the experience of it. We're here to, as always, grab the challenge and hit it head on and try and win the match and progress in the FA Cup.
What's your message to the sport as well? Unfortunately, this fixture has had a history of crowd trouble around it. It's going to be a huge police operations, 120 buses going from St James's Park, very unusual of travel arrangements for a game. What is your message to Newcastle United supporters in that regard?
Well, my message is we want to keep everyone safe. We really do, and I think we want them to enjoy the game. Enjoy what they see on the pitch, but I don't want to see any trouble. I don't want to see any injuries anywhere from either side. So it's just a case of look after themselves and to make sure they act in the right way.
And how are we getting on with recruitment this month,
Well, to be honest, it's something that we're working on behind the scenes. There's a lot of work that's gone on in the recruitment team and with us, and that will never stop, regardless of how active you are in the market. But certainly currently there's nothing really to give you, no details.
Okay, thank you.
Mark Douglas, then Chris Watt.
I'm obviously a lot's been made of the fact that you're not probably on the best run that you've been on since you've been here, but at Anfield after the game, the reaction from the supporters was pretty remarkable. It was very positive. Like they how important was that for you, and how much did you take from that, and how much did it reflect the performances?
Yeah, I think you always take a lot from what your supporters give you in every moment, and I think in that moment, again, it's true testament to their character, the supporters away from home. I reflect back on the Tottenham game, where I didn't think our performance was amazing, but they really did back us that day, and they've done that very consistently. And I think it's because they're seeing the players give everything. Might not be playing at our best level, might not be in the best rhythm that we've been in, but the minimum expectation for me is that we give our best and we empty on the pitch, and I think they can see what the players are. And I think that's why we're seeing the reaction we are. But certainly we don't take it for granted. We don't think we can turn up and give whatever and expect a positive reaction. No, it's absolutely not the case. So we don't take it for granted, but we value it greatly. And we will continue, hopefully, to give our best in the knowledge that with the quality that we have, that will be enough to turn things around.
There's been a bit of external noise about your position. I think there was a few crazy reports in Spain and things as well. Are the owners being support? The owners saying being support to you at the moment, or is that not really necessary because you know you've got support at the moment?
I don't think that we communicate all the time. I certainly don't need daily reassurances. I feel comfortable in the fact that we are working as hard as we can to improve our performances, improve results. Obviously, I know it's a results-based business, all the usual things you'd expect me to say, but I do feel the support from the club, and that's really important in this moment.
Chris and Kieran.
Mona, you mentioned your FA Cup record, and you weren't aware of it. Looking back at those two matches, I know that the context that when they came in the season was different, but have you learned anything from that in terms of going into them that you can put into this?
Not sure. I think they were very different moments for us. I think when you look back at the first one, we were in a huge relegation battle, and the priority was to stay in the Premier League, and our focus was absolutely on that. Now, in saying that, we wanted to use that game as the Cambridge game as a springboard to winning and getting that feeling back within the group. Now, it actually worked against us where we lost the game, but in a strange way, it might have helped us in that moment because it was another grounding for us. It was a way of then us rebuilding, and then we went to Leeds, I think it was afterwards, and won that game that was really turned our season round. So sometimes in a really negative moment you can find positives from it. Now, the Sheffield Wednesday game last year again was a really difficult feeling. Just trying to think when it came, what results were around it, but maybe we weren't in our best moment again. I think we made changes to the team, and it was a game that I think we should have won, but we were desperately disappointed to go out. So those feelings we felt in both of those games were very painful. We don't need reminding in this moment of how painful losing can be because, of course, what's happened recently. But we need something to spark us back into life, and no better game than this one.
You mentioned that after the Man City game you get that block of training. I mean, that could be affected if you were to have a replay. I mean, are there any plans at the moment for then in terms of warm weather training camp? Would be the Dubai, previously be the Saudis. Are there any plans for anything like that?
Not short term, no. So not sort of immediately within the next few weeks. That might be something we look at, maybe going later into the season. But certainly at the moment, if we were able to train, that would be most welcome.
Okay, Kieran, Simon, and then Oscar.
Hi, yeah, it's been a long time since Newcastle won the derby. Does that give the group added incentive to write their own history?
Yeah, the players will be aware of the record. We're aware of our recent record. It's been a long time since we've won a derby game, so we're very keen to do that. Whether it's added motivation, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the players need any.
Have you dipped into the archives to give them a flavour of what to expect?
But there's still time. I haven't done so far, but there's still time.
Simon and then Oscar.
Hi. This is a game that sets the tone or mood or narrative around a manager's sort of future role, the games to come. Hull left after the derby in '99, Pardew about 10 days after, and whenever it was, 2015. Are you concerned about that? Is that the stakes kind of that you're playing for tomorrow?
So you're going on Luke's? You're following Luke, yeah, okay. I'm not thinking of it like that. I'm just thinking of it as a game that we need to do very well in, and that you can't control. There are lots of things in this job when you're in my shoes, but certainly I'm looking to control what the players deliver.
Yeah. And traditionally we ask this question, some people have been tripped up by it and some people haven't. How many Sunderland players would get into the Newcastle team currently?
I don't think that's a wise one for me to answer. So I'm going to avoid getting tripped up. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Oscar?
And Michael Beale's press conference the other day said if you take the money away, there's no difference between the clubs in terms of size and status. And support, would you agree with that?
I'm not going to get in a war of words with any manager. I just don't think it's wise to make those comparisons or comments. We know who we are and what we are. I certainly know more now about the size of this football club since managing it, and I think the future is very bright for this club, no matter what happens in the short term. So hopefully that gives you an answer without actually making direct reference to the quotes.
You've been up here for a couple of years now, surrounded by them. What do you think of Sunderland? Have you learned to hate them?
I've visited Sunderland a few times, but only with my boy or my boys playing football, and it's been an interesting experience. So that's the only times I've been there, really, apart from playing, of course.
Oscar, we've got to move on. Got others to fit in. Martin?
Have you watched the Newcastle Sunderland derby before, Eddie, either in person or on TV? And what are your memories of the fixture?
Yeah, definitely on telly. Not live. I'm just trying to think. No, definitely not live. But on telly, yeah, I think they've always been very, very interesting games to watch. As then I was a neutral, and I remember the sort of classic games a few years ago. I won't make reference to sort of what happened because it wasn't what Newcastle fans would have wanted in the games. But I think it's sort of given me a taste watching those moments, and certainly vivid memories from my side as to what the game means to everybody. You can see it from the reactions, and certain moments in the games will live long in my memory. So again, I think that's more fuel for us for how important this match is.
And when you obviously living here now, when you look at the history of the two teams, can you believe it's so long that they've both been trophyless?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's another thing. We can only look at our side and what we've delivered, and certainly that's again more motivation. I don't know how more motivated I can be and how my players can be, because I feel that they are. But certainly that's something we have to address in the future.
And you touched on this already. Could a win at Sunderland kickstart your season?
Yeah, of course. Whether kickstart the season is the right words, it can certainly reboot us and just change the external and even internal view of ourselves, because it can change very quickly. As I said, I made reference to it many times. The Manchester United game, our best performance of the season, wasn't that long ago, and now the view is very different on the team. Confidence is a very fragile thing for the players as well. So anything that helps them refine their best rhythm, as quickly as possible, is what we're seeking.
Just last couple to finish, Dominic and then Louise.
Eddie, given the enormity of this fixture and recent results, is this the biggest game of your time in charge?
I don't know, I think it's a difficult one. Everyone wants to build up the next game as the biggest. I think we've played in the Champions League very recently, so I don't know the answer to that one.
Okay. Louise, take this finish.
Hi, now you've got Shel Acre the Mackham Slayer here as the loan manager. Have you been tempted to get him to talk to the players and maybe do some psychological motivation?
Well, Shola's a very positive presence in our staff. He's got lots of stories to tell, mainly of his goals, and he gives us a reflection of those moments in his career quite regularly. But we love him. I think he's such a positive person, such a hard-working member of our staff, and certainly if he can help us in any way, we'll utilise that.
And you mentioned that you're not running on empty earlier on. Where would you put the fuel gauge, the petrol gauge at the moment?
Well, hopefully all we can say is on the weekend it's at full pelt. That's how we have to look. There's no excuses on our side.